Hello, fellow film geeks. Due to unforeseen circumstances, there's no new show this week, but with Disney's Snow White coming out this weekend, I thought I'd take some time to at least share my review of their latest live-action adaptation of one of their classic animated films. So, Disney's live-action adaptation of the early animated favourite has had a troubled few years of production, with reports of rewrites and reshoots, and even almost complete overhauls. At the same time, a certain sector of online commentator has been obsessed with tearing down this film for any and all details, even though they're not actually the target audience, which has created a media frenzy around the film as everyone waits to find out how much of a disaster this film can be. Now, with regards to those commenters who are not the target audience, it is worth noting that as a 52-year-old male, I'm certainly not in the demographic for this film. But you know what? I thought it was okay. Snow White, played here by Rachel Zegler, is a princess who lived a blessed life while growing up, with her mother and father, the king and queen, sharing their wealth with the land around them. However, after her mother passes away, her father hastily remarries Gal Gadot's evil queen, who takes control of the land and instills a tyrannical rule over it when the king is lost in battle. Snow White is forced to work like a servant in the palace, whilst the Queen obsesses with asking the magic mirror the same question over and over again: who is the fairest of them all? But when the mirror's answer changes to say that Snow White is the fairest, the Queen, in a jealous rage, sends her out into the forest with a huntsman ordered to kill her. Cue dwarves, poison apples, and the tale that we all know from the myriad of tellings over the decades. Early into production on this film, there was criticism regarding how the seven dwarves would be represented, with Disney responding that they were going in a different direction. Not too soon after, an early image showed that they were indeed going elsewhere, with a mixed band of outlaws teamed up with Snow White, similar to 2012's Mirror Mirror. Negative reactions to those earlier shots saw the film vanish into the background for a while some behind-the-scenes retooling took place. And when the trailers finally arrived, those outlaws were gone, and in their place were 7 CGI dwarves, with Disney making the claim that the actors that we'd seen in that early image were just being used as stand-ins for the dwarves. It was clear at this point that there was some panicking going on behind the scenes, and sadly this does show through the film, as the result is a film with a serious identity problem. It doesn't quite know if it wants to remain faithful to the animated classic, or if it wants to take a new approach. I say new, but come on, Snow White and the Huntsman and Mirror Mirror have already trodden these very familiar grounds. So we get a film that introduces the 7 dwarves for a small while, and then drops them to briefly show us a bunch of outlaws, before kind of forgetting about both of these, before inserting them into the final confrontation. You can see when you're watching this film, where the two plans for the film were pushed together with not all that much success. In addition, there's some new songs thrown into the mix to replace a few of the outdated ones from yesteryear, or to just simply give some more backstory to the tale. And sadly, whilst the new songs aren't actually bad, they lack any uniqueness that makes them stand out. So we get an opening song that introduces the land the film is set in, with Snow White joyously engaging with townfolk, which kind of felt like Beauty and the Beast. A later song seems to have pretty much the same rhythm and flow as Dancing Through Life from Wicked, which resulted in me singing along that song rather than the one that was in the film. And another, which you can hear in the trailer, which is pretty much from Moana. Like I said, these aren't bad songs. They're just sadly derivative of other works. Casting-wise, there's not really a lot to say about the support cast, who, due to the mashing of the two films together that I mentioned before, don't get enough time to really have an impact. But the two leads themselves are such a mismatch, one of them standing out and pulling the film together well, whilst the other sadly damages the film with a presence on screen that risks being lost amongst the wood of the trees. Zegler is the one who's fabulous and joyful. She delivers even those aforementioned generic new songs with enough emotion to get you past them, and she shines as Snow White. Gadot, however, proves once more how her turn in Wonder Woman was a blip on an otherwise perfectly bad track record in films. She always comes across like she's forgotten her lines, and she's simply reading from cue cards. And here, it's no different. She carries no presence or weight, and sadly, this makes the final confrontation lack any drama or peril. So, there is a lot that doesn't work in this film, but I did still find myself carried along with a smile for the majority of the runtime. The CGI dwarves are a little weird looking, but each are imbued with enough personality that you look past the rushed effects work and kind of care for them, especially fan favourite Dopey, who is charmingly represented here. The film is vivid and bright in a glorious storybook manner, and we even get the storybook opening and closing to bookend the film. So, yeah, I kind of enjoyed enough of this film to offset the issues that I have with it. It's not the worst Disney live-action adaptation, but nor is it the best. It's simply a fun, newish take on a classic tale that, if I was the target audience, a 9 or 10-year-old girl, I'd probably end up citing this as being my favourite film of the year. As a 52-year-old male, it's okay. And it's probably important for those other grown-up adult males who have been adamantly against this film over the last few years to realise that they were never the intended audience, and to have obsessed so much about a film for little girls. It's a bit weird, don't you think? Anyway, Snow White will be a crowd pleaser for families despite the flaws, and I do say it's worth checking out over the Easter holiday season. So, feel free to go and watch the film and make your own mind up on it, and let us know. podcast@filmfile.uk, or look for us, FilmFile UK, over on the social media channels, and love to hear your thoughts on this film. We'll be back with a proper show next week. In the meantime, remember, watch more films.